Hello, thank you for joining a new video. Today I'll discuss the security features available on almost every Android device. To begin, these features are developed by Google and should be present on all Android devices. However, some exceptions only include a few of the options I'll mention. I'll confirm any missing features in each device review. However, the vast majority of these features are available on every Android device, and I'll show you exactly how to use them and what they are meant for, so go ahead and take a look. Just so you're aware, I'm using a Pixel device. In this case, they aren't officially distributed in Mexico, but it's considered the reference device for what Google envisions Android to be. If you're not familiar, Android is a Google product, which is why all the security features I'm going to discuss have been developed by Google. Alright, so let's begin with Google Play Protect. I will explain what it is, how it functions, and whether it is possible to enable or disable it. The method to access these features might differ depending on the manufacturer, but they are usually found in a section named Security and Privacy. In this scenario, we will discover some suggestions from Google, which even advise you to, for instance, change your password regularly or do similar things. You can go ahead and close the suggestions if you don't want them to appear. Now let me explain further. Here, we are going to find something called App Security, which is crucial for your device's protection. In this context, there is a feature known as Google Play Protect. As you might notice, there is no option available to disable it, and it functions somewhat like an antivirus, if we were to use a more common term. What this feature will do is thoroughly scan the apps on your device to try to prevent any kind of malware or similar threats from affecting your system. However, I must inform you in advance that, unfortunately, it doesn't possess a highly reliable level of protection. It's always advisable to be cautious and aware of the limitations it has. Honestly, Google Play Protect has had several malwares sneak past it, so we could say it provides a basic level of protection. However, every Android device includes this feature, which I must emphasize you cannot enable or disable. Additionally, there is a section known as Privacy Controls. This section will allow you, for instance, to completely turn off access to both the camera and the microphone, ensuring that no application can access the camera. And in fact, not even the camera itself can be used. As you can see, it will indicate that the camera is locked, and it will ask if you wish to unlock it. This process is similar if you attempt to access the camera through any other app. Regardless of the camera permissions granted, there will still be an additional lock, ensuring the camera remains disabled. In theory, no application should be able to use the camera without your knowledge. I emphasize in theory, this is the case. There are these security switches in place, and the same applies to the microphone. It will function in exactly the same manner, ensuring that the microphone is also securely managed. Application. In the very same section, you will find an option that will notify you whenever an application copies something from your clipboard, allowing you to monitor this activity closely. There have been some well-known cases, such as with the video editor CapCut, where upon opening, it would automatically copy the contents of your clipboard. If you had a password stored there, it could pose a potential risk. Therefore, by using this switch, you can be alerted to any suspicious activities in certain applications. Android now includes a comprehensive privacy panel, a feature that allows you to thoroughly monitor which applications have been accessing your location, camera, and microphone. This insightful tool helps you identify applications that may be overly attentive or invasive, like Google, which has frequently accessed my location data. There are instances where such access can be justified, especially if you've been conducting searches that rely on your location. In those cases, it will naturally appear in the panel. However, it's also crucial to note that if any application has been utilizing your location, it will be listed here. For instance, if there's an app that has been persistently using your location data, you will find it recorded in the privacy panel. This feature is designed to enhance your awareness and control of your personal data and how it's being used by various applications. If a photo editing app is constantly accessing your location, be suspicious. Similarly, if an app unrelated to the camera or microphone appears on this list being used frequently, be very cautious. Other permissions, like access to your calendar and contacts, can also be suspicious. If there are applications that have nothing to do with your contacts or your calendar and appear here, we must be suspicious. Next, we find the private space that Android recently debuted. Other manufacturers incorporate their own implementations. In the case of Google, as you will notice, it asks for verification through your fingerprint and asks you to create another Google account for this separate space. You will be able to install your own applications that will be blocked from the space. Mainly, I must emphasize that most manufacturers have implemented their own solutions, like App Lock, Secure Folder, and similar features. Moving forward, we will continue to uncover more options hidden within this section. For instance, one such feature is Extended Unlock, which is quite a prevalent option. Take note that in this scenario, despite being at home, my device remains entirely locked, and each time I wish to unlock it, I am required to input my fingerprint or pattern. However, if I wish to, I have the option to choose my home as a trusted location. To do this, I would simply go into this Extended Unlock section, and then add my home to list of trusted locations. Additionally, I could select trusted devices, ensuring that while my phone is connected to my watch or to the car, it remains unlocked. Let's take a moment to add my home here on the Trusted Places category. And next, we are going to choose EDDD Trusted Location. In this instance, you will notice a small circle appearing, indicating the radius within which your device remains unlocked. Naturally, it won't just detect your house, but also the nearby houses as it's a nearby location. So, once you've accurately pinpointed your house, click on Select Location. Then, you will see your address and your location on the map. Simply click on Accept, and now at the bottom, it should be visible. The location of your home shows up, so pay attention. When I lock my phone in this scenario, it appears as unlocked. Here, it indicates that it was unlocked using the extended unlock feature. Therefore, it won't require my PIN, pattern, or fingerprint every single time. This allows for a more convenient experience in the places you've selected or while it's connected to certain devices. Actually, within the options for extended unlock, it might also detect when the phone is on your person. However, this particular feature it is meant to be slightly more dangerous. It can smartly sense when it's no longer with you, or if you've left it on a table, or if it's static. However, as long as it detects that it is in your pocket or still under your control, it will stay unlocked. I emphasize that this might be a bit riskier, but it's your choice. Next, we will explore the Android safe browsing options. These options are designed to prevent you from accessing a scam website or something similar, although in this particular case, another feature that we will discover in every Android device is the application pinning. This tool proves to be quite useful when you decide to lend your phone to someone you know, but you don't fully trust them. For instance, if they ask, "Can I borrow your phone to make a call?" You have the ability to activate this option by pressing Accept. Once you do that, you'll notice that a new button will appear in the list of recent apps. Now, you can lend him your cell phone specifically within the phone app so he can make the call. But before you hand over the cell phone, you need to navigate to this part, press this specific button, and choose the set option. This way, the person using your phone will be restricted to only this application. As you can observe, he won't be able to exit the app, and even if he attempts to go back, he won't be able to do so. It will not be able to, nor will it be able to navigate to the home screen. So let's say that you keep it confined within that application to prevent it from accessing other parts of your cell phone. You, as the owner of the cell phone, to exit, need to perform this gesture and hold it at the top, and then it will transition to the lock screen, requiring you to verify with your fingerprint or your pattern before you can re-enter. Other privacy options integrate the secure folder, which in this case, curiously, is not as advanced as the one integrated by some other Android manufacturers. However, it is within the application called Files that works to manage your applications. So in this part, we will find an option called Secure Folder, but note that it will only work with a PIN or pattern, which in this case may be different from your lock screen, but does not take advantage of the fingerprint reader or the facial recognition feature that these devices have, which makes it somewhat limited. However, in this section, as I mentioned, you are able to set up your own pattern. In this particular instance, it must consist of 5 points, as opposed to the lock screen pattern, which can be as few as 4. Once you have set it up, you will be able to access this section where you can securely store your files or any content you deem private. This is simply to ensure that others cannot access or view it easily. Interestingly, Google is a bit redundant in this aspect, so inside Google Photos we will find another similar option. Once you enter Google Photos, you must switch to the Collections tab, and within Collections appears this option called Private Folder. Here you can activate it, and in this case, if it works, synchronized with the lock screen of your phone. Google even offers you to create backup of this private folder, so you choose whether or not you want to activate the backup. In the cloud, it's empty here, but to move a picture to the private folder, swipe up and click Move to Private Folder. Recently, Google added theft protection. With algorithms, the device can detect if someone takes it abruptly, making it lockable. In this particular situation, it wouldn't be capable of detecting if someone had discreetly taken it from your pocket. However, it's still a form of protection that you might consider using. Let's try this scenario where I'm using it and someone unexpectedly takes it from me. We'll check if it was indeed locked or not. I enter lock or block, and if it was locked, and in this instance, it shows that it wasn't locked. Therefore, I question its effectiveness, though it is supposed to assist with that. Let's try a slightly more violent ratter. Let's see you, Pablito. So imagine that I am here calmly using my cell phone, and suddenly someone comes and snatches my cell phone and runs away violently. Let's see if the cell phone is actually blocked. He keeps running. I don't know how far he went to run. Now let's see if he comes back. And as you can see, it still does not work. So I think it is not a very useful function. They supposedly trained it in Brazil, where, as far as I know, cell phone theft is rampant. However, I believe that in Mexico, we are not too far behind in this issue. Anyway, there's a feature that might be helpful. It's another one that is supposed to block the phone once it loses connection. However, I've tested it and I haven't noticed it working effectively. You could also potentially lock your device remotely if you enable this option, which is crucial. However, for this feature to work properly, you must have a SIM card. To remotely lock your phone, ensure this option is activated beforehand, ideally before any theft occurs. Then, access Android Com Lock, log into Google, and you can lock it. Finally, you can try locating your phone and erasing data using Google's Find My Device feature, but remember, it must be activated in advance. You can find the device without an internet connection using the Google Device Network, which includes all Android devices. However, currently this option is disabled, so the network is effectively off. It's important for all Android users to agree and enable advanced options, like the one that activates only in high traffic areas with a network, helping your device be detected when more devices are around. I would highly recommend the most advanced option for attempting to locate your device if it gets lost. I strongly insist that every Android user should definitely enable this option if they wish to increase their chances of recovering their cell phone or assisting others in finding theirs. Furthermore, to attempt to locate your lost device, you can make use of an application available on other Android devices called Find My Device. However, it is important to note that you must obviously initiate it first. Your Google session or visit the web page Google.com Android Find to view your device list. In Google settings, there's an autocomplete tool for password management. The saved passwords appear on the keyboard. Just press, and if your phone is set up correctly, it will request your fingerprint before filling them in effectively. Ensure you're the one logging in. In Google Autofill Preferences, enable this option if disabled. You'll need it to use biometrics for password completion. If disabled, passwords autofill without fingerprint verification. On all Android devices, there's a digital wellness and parental control section. Here, we will be able to see the statistics of our time consumption in certain applications, how many times we unlock our cell phone per day, and how many notifications we receive. In this case, you could also activate some timer options for applications. That is, if you consider that you are addicted to Facebook, you can choose to only allow you to use it 20 minutes a day, for example. And similarly for any other application. You also have the option to set 1H to go to sleep, and after this time, the device will enter Do Not Disturb mode. During this mode, the screen will change to black and white, creating a more comfortable viewing experience. You can specify the schedule and select the days you want this feature to work automatically. Additionally, there is a distraction-free mode available. In this mode, you can select which applications typically distract you, and when this mode is activated, it will prevent you from using those distracting applications. You have the option to activate these modes either automatically or manually, and as you can see, when it is active, even the icons become black and white, preventing their use. It's important to note that in this instance, no special PIN or password is necessary. It's just a minor block and the primary obstacle. Additionally, you have the ability to manage the notifications you receive, especially if certain applications are overwhelming you with excessive notifications, allowing you to set the mode to no. And we are going to select it and we are going to disturb so that there are also people who can interrupt you if you consider that they are very important people. There is also an option to siliconize your cell phone by simply turning it upside down if it rings during a meeting or something like that. And there is another option that detects if you are using it while you are walking to give you a warning and tell you to pay attention to your surroundings. Finally, we have the parental controls section. To configure it, you need to scroll down to the bottom. It's important to note that you'll need an Android cell phone for the parent. Additionally, you'll require an Android cell phone for the child. The child must have their own dedicated Google account. It cannot be the same as yours. In this section, you need to add their account to proceed with the setup. For demonstration purposes, I will use my cell phone where I have already added the Pixel cell phone account. Let's go ahead and select it, and we will. To select what we want to monitor in this instance, you must set up your family group. I already have my family group configured, which is why these options are visible. Let's imagine that this is my son's mobile phone, so I need to log into my personal session in this section to configure it properly. Naturally, I must enter my password. Now, notice that in this scenario, you must carefully review these options together. For example, parents will have the ability to manage controls and settings of the Google account. And also, they have the ability to block or approve the applications that are allowed to be used on this cell phone. Additionally, they can control the phone's location and set specific times for usage on these monitored devices. Furthermore, they are able to configure filters and controls for Google Chrome, as well as for searches conducted on Google Play and YouTube. However, what they cannot do is remotely view what is being done on this cell phone at any given moment. nor can they access the previous history from the time of this configuration. They are unable to reset the password for their child's Google account. They cannot read emails or messages, nor can they listen to calls or change the lock screen password. Furthermore, and importantly, they cannot erase any data on this cell phone. In this scenario, all devices associated with this account can be monitored. I have set up this test account on numerous devices, which is the reason why this entire list appears. Finally, the child needs to enter the password for the Google account that they have set up on this phone in order to authorize it. Once everything is set up in this manner, you are completely ready. Now, parents need to use the Google Family Link application. After installing it and logging in, they will have the ability to manage their child's cell phone, for example. If the child has been using the cell phone for too long and is being very stubborn about not wanting to hand it over, you can simply press the block button and watch what happens. As the device is about to lock, supposedly in this situation, but notice that it remains unlocked. It seems like it is intended to be an anti-theft feature. Supposedly, from this section, you should be able to lock your child's cell phone, make it ring, or monitor how long they're using it. However, I must admit that I have tried it and honestly, it doesn't appear to work. Additionally, here you can manage various configuration settings and set a daily usage limit for the cell phone, as well as assign break times, and you can also assign timeouts for each application, much like what we observed just a moment ago. However, in this particular instance, it is safeguarded by the parent. Moving on, we will encounter the emergency options, and it's important to note that here you have the ability to input your medical information or set up emergency contacts. Furthermore, there are the SOS emergency options. These options will enable you to press the power button 5 times. It doesn't have to be exactly 5 times, but it should be at least more than 5 times in order to initiate an emergency call. Emergency. By default, there's a brief countdown to prevent accidental activation. But you can set it to trigger instantly by pressing the button 5 times. Normally, it will call emergency services. For more options, log into Google to configure advanced settings. You have the option to add your emergency contacts and then proceed by pressing next. During an emergency, you can share your real-time location as a text message will be sent. However, please ensure you have sufficient credit for this feature. Additionally, you can activate an alert for when your battery level drops significantly, notifying your emergency contact as well. Lastly, when you either initiate an emergency call or start and end a call, you have the choice as a user to select which specific notifications you would like to receive. You want it to receive. Actually, the device will also have the capability to record an emergency video. You just need to give permission to access the camera, and it will send a video that lasts around 45 seconds. Of course, you need to choose to have it shared automatically, and you must have credit or an internet connection for it to be sent. So those are essentially all the available options. Hopefully, now you have been able to learn more tools at your fingertips to ensure a secure and private experience or to protect yourself from potential threats. Anything. So, we've reached the end of this video. Remember, I have reviews of almost any cell phone you want with more details there. See you next time.